everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soup Bowl, where we talk about all things leading our lives and how it gets messy when you dive into the Soup Bowl. I am your host, Renee Murdoch. We're here, we're chilling, we're doing life together. So, I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for listening. I thank you for riding. And I am so excited to be a part of your life too. So how about not share some things in the chat? Call me up if you got my number, because I will not be giving it out here. And let's just, give me some things like, hey Renee, what's up with this? Let's chop it up about this. And I'll just be like, okay, let's chop it up. Let's have a conversation about it, right? Because it's only when we begin to talk about things, we get to muse over it and look at it from different perspectives and see some things differently and just get a little bit of insight, and it just gives us more clarity, it gives us more peace, it gives us more joy, revelation, right? So it's so funny that I just made that noise, right? Because I remember watching this I guess it was kind of like a skit or whatever on IG, right? And I think they were like, of course, making fun of like, when someone is saying something really good, like having a conversation, and this is how you know that it's really good because you're making the noise. Like what? So, and I started laughing, and then I found myself doing it the other day, and I was like, like, or they say something like, yes, that's real good. Like, why do we do that? I don't know why we do that. But anyway, it was hilarious to me. It may not be for you, but it was for me. All right, so what we've been up to lately, we back in this game, you know what I'm saying? And we just, out here in these streets and just doing life. And so, a comment was made, and I thought about this comment, then I thought too, I was like, I kind of do this myself too, not really knowing why I do it, so I just need to do some more soul searching on it. But when we talk about expectations, and I'm the type of person that I set really high standards, right? I set some really high standards for myself, and I used to put those same expectations on others, especially when I was in service, right? Even in relationships, and it was just not literally like, right? Like it just really never panned out because they just never met it. And I was just like, why you can't get it? Why you can't get it together? It's not that hard. It's just not like, you can do this. You can discipline yourself and you can do this, right? Not realizing that I was causing more stress. I was causing more damage, and all of these things, which was not fair to the individuals. But I'm just I'm just out here just like, you can't, what's wrong with you? You can't get it together or whatever. But I think I was doing it in an unhealthy way, because I think you can have high expectations, right? Just depending on the assignment, the environment that you're around, and not always setting low expectations where it doesn't allow people to rise to the occasion. And if they don't rise to the occasion, then it's like, you're not throwing them to the wolves, or, just kind of like, okay, yeah, well, I can't get anything out of them. So you're not looking at them as being an asset. So I think it's so much more of a balance, because if you set high expectations for yourself, right, it does encourage growth, right? It does build resilience in a person. And when you think of certain projects, of things that need to get done, right, if you meet them, then you're like, oh man, wow, like I didn't know I had it in me, right? Or if someone is setting high expectations for you, you're like, man, I didn't know that I would be able to achieve that. And you feel you have more confidence, right? You have more confidence in yourself of doing, other things based upon you're thinking like, well, yeah, I'm just good at this and nothing else. Well, that's really not true. But if you're setting low expectations for yourself when it comes to work, it can encourage others to come along, right? Because they're looking at it like, okay, I can do that too. I don't mind being involved. So there, yeah, is building relationships, right? That may not been, well, that pretty much wasn't there before, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, we can do this. It's not that intimidating, and so they want to be a part of it. So when we think about organizations and how we want people to be a part of our team, we think about how we want people to be a part of our project. We want them to be a part of our organization. That's where having low expectations can come into play, and then we can move along into higher expectations. But it's just knowing that you can't just always just have high expectations, right? Sometimes you might have to start low, depending again on the individuals that you are working with, right, to bring them along with you. Because again, if you're just starting with high expectations, then people might be like, yeah, no, that's just I can't do that. That's too much. They want too much from me. I'm not going to be able to do that. And so you're like, what? Like, okay. So just know that having high and low expectations does work out, and there is a balance to it, right? Because when you're doing projects, when you're again being a part of a team, you want to make sure that no one is putting things on you that you're not able to succeed in, or you're not putting things on individuals that they're not able to succeed in, right? Because if they're not succeeding, then ultimately you're not succeeding. So when you think again of a team, is it not an effort of everyone? Should everyone be learning and growing through this process? Or is all about, what I want done on the end? And I got to be in control, I got to be in charge or whatnot. Is that the goal? Or is the goal to come out with a great product for the benefit of others? Because isn't that why we do what we do anyway? Isn't everything that we do really kind of centered around making it well for others? Like even like me doing this podcast, or either other people that do podcasts, isn't because you're getting your voice heard, but it's also to learn of others, for them to learn from you, and to bring more awareness to whatever that topic or subject is, right, for the benefit of others. So if I'm always leaving people behind, yeah, think about that for a second. If I'm always leaving people behind, then ultimately whatever what I set out to do probably is not going to get done. And again, this is based upon right circumstances. So you have to look at the circumstance that you are in, the situation that you are in, right? That I'm talking about, right? But finding the balance is really where it's at, right? Finding that middle ground, finding the place that's working well for everyone. And that can be challenging when you are leading efforts and when you are participating in efforts. Finding the right balance, making sure that you're not stretching yourself too thin, making sure that you're not in this thing of burnout, right? We're going to talk about burnout. We're going to talk about how do we get to burnout, because we're not going to talk about it this time go around, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about burnout because that's a real thing, right? But finding the balance of how to prevent that, right? And that is the high expectations and low expectations, and how both of them are important, right? Because what we do and how we do it in life, right? We have to have some form of self-awareness that is happening around us and what we are doing. Knowing that the team that we're working with, the people that we're working with, that we're being clear in our communication of what we need from them, We're letting them know what are the expectations are, regardless of if they're high or if they're low or how they seem. Like there's just this middle ground. Like we want everybody to win at the end of this. We want everybody to win. That's the attitude that we should have. We want everybody to win, and we need to be flexible. We need to be adaptable, right? We need to listen to people as we're going through this project, and we need to be acceptable of one another as we're going through the project, right? Because we want to achieve at the end of it. So when you think about, when you think about expectations, right, when it comes to relationships, right, a lot of times we could feel a certain way because of actual I don't know, I was hearing something, but anyway, the relationships that we've been in, or the environment that we've been in, or situations that we've been in, puts us in a place of how we, think of others, and our expectations, right? So if I, was like, oh, I'm gonna get something, whatever, because we're going to a grocery store and think that you're gonna get something, and then you don't get it, right? And so then you're like, oh man, I didn't get it. The next time you go, you think you're gonna get it again, and then no, you don't get it. And then the next time you go, right? So then at this point, you're just kind of like, yeah, we're just going to the store, right? Like you're not thinking that you're going to get something now. So your expectation is pretty much like, yeah, I'm not going to get nothing. So you're always thinking that you're not going to get anything, and you lead with that, or you decide that you're going to lead with that in life because of the many disappointments that have come about. And so, can that be detrimental to our relationships? I think so. I think it can be, because again, we're talking about the balance of it all. Is that, if I'm only thinking like, okay, well, however it is when I show up, and that's what I'm going to get, then that's just the way it's going to be, right? I never put this expectation on anyone to do anything, for me. I don't put an expectation on anyone, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just stay right here because I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be hurt, right? I don't want any confusion about anything. Excuse me. And so you just, you never really get into the deep things of a relationship. Like a lot of your relationships just remain surface level. They never go beneath the water. They don't go into the deep end. They just stay right there because I can see it, it's comfortable. There's just this awareness that we're right here and we're not going to go anywhere further. And so I don't know, there should be a deeper want in life, that you want something deeper other than just surface level relationships, because your expectations are low of individuals. And so you just remain there. And then, of course, it's the fact of like what I was talking about earlier with myself, of having like these really high expectations of people. And it's like that affects your relationships too, because you're just kind of like, yeah, no, you don't deliver. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Right. So I know that I have come into a time where I thought like, yeah, well, okay, not with everybody, right? But there are certain individuals, based upon their track record. I'm gonna say that again, based upon their track record. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna ask you again, because you have shown me a few times that you can't deliver. you can't deliver. You can't deliver. And I remember, I'm laughing because I remember. And there was this individual that I knew, and every time there would be an event, right? This person would get, everybody would be responsible, right, to make sure that they did their part or whatever. And this person never fulfilled their part, right? It was never fulfilled 100%. Let me put it like that. It was filled like 25%. And not only was it fulfilled 25%, they would always be late to the culmination of everything. And then, when they would show up, it's just like, these stories that you just be like, what? Like, why this only happen to you? Like, I was there. That, like, I didn't even encounter that. What? So I had realized, right, that this was this person. Like, this is what this person was. So for me, when I would lead an effort, right, I would give this person, because they're still part of the team, right? They just wasn't thrown off the team. And I learned that I would give them something that did not place a big impact on the project. And so they still had a job, they still had a responsibility, but if they didn't show up, if it didn't come about, it didn't really impact, or it was something that, okay, yeah, if it doesn't happen, then, we got something on the side that whatever that could replace or have it in place that the person didn't, my sinuses, y'all, the person, what they were supposed to bring, right, that, or what they were supposed to complete, it didn't affect the overall functioning of everything. So my expectations of that person was low. It was just low. I was just like, yeah, because I can't depend on you, for things. And so, y'all just had to be there. Maybe y'all know somebody like that. Maybe y'all work with somebody like that. I don't know. But I used to just be like, ma'am, just tell the truth. Just tell the truth, right? And so that did affect relationship, because it ultimately does affect relationship, right? Because I was like, yeah, no, because if I have a conversation with you, I'm always thinking, are they telling the truth? Are they telling the truth? And if they really did encounter like a personal issue, I don't know, like that empathy and sympathy just wasn't there. It wasn't there anymore, because I would just be like, I don't know. I just don't. I just don't know, right? Would you? Would you believe what they said, or would you be questioning like, it's always you. It's always you that end up in these situations. Like, what's going on? So, but yeah, so I don't I don't know where we're at. But just having these expectations of individuals, whether they be high, whether they be low, right? We just need to find these balance of why, and then knowing the why we have the expectations that we do of other people. Because I think it prevents us of really enjoying one another, and just really, because you can have like, man, like, I know if I get with such and such and we connect or whatever, that it's always gonna be, 100, or it's always gonna be something new, or the case may be. Like, I just think, that it's good to have that. But if you really don't make those connections with people because you keep them on a certain playing field, then we miss the beauty of living. We miss the beauty of, connecting with different people from different areas. And I think it limits us, right? It limits us, because if we stay centralized in our own, little world, or whatever the case may be, then it prevents us from growing. It prevents us from launching out into something great and unknown. You just never know where life can take you if you're connecting with people on a different level. Like it could take you to a lot of places. For instance, my husband is from Alabama. He be saying he be trying to act like, well, nah, he don't be trying to act like, but he be saying, that he from them streets, but he not from them streets. He's not from them streets. He from the sticks. So when every time he say it, I be like, you from the rocks, and I say the rocks because the gravel rocks, and I say they put the gravel rocks down there because they too lazy to lay the concrete. But anyway, and so I say that, and I'm like, that's where you're from, right? Like you're not from them streets. You don't know about that life. So no, but when he goes home or anything like that, or you talk to people that remain right in the same place or whatnot, it's their thinking, right? It's just not expansive. It's just very tunnel vision, right? It's just they're not really learning and growing because our world is so huge and it's so expansive. It's just you would never be able to capture it in a whole lifetime. You'd be never able to capture it. I think about the time where explorers, right, were just really like a really big thing, and they would go out and they'll be gone for months and years, right, trying to explore the world, and they get on these boats and whatever, and then they come back, and people are just so intrigued. They want to hear their stories, they want to see the things that they've picked up and they brought back, of things of that nature, and how over time, right, we don't really look at people, world travelers, adventurers, right, being that big of a deal. One, because we really do all have the opportunity to be explorers. It's just whether we choose to do it or not, or where we just decide to stay where we're at and think that we're just wonderful. Let me make this point. A lot of people, when you go to other countries outside the United States of America, because that's where I live at, and we go into other countries, there is a stigma on Americans that we are arrogant, that we're arrogant because we expect people to, one, all speak English regardless, even when we're in their country. What is that about? And then we want them to have the things that we like. What is that about? And we want them to conform to our ways, right? Versus us conforming to their ways, although we are on their soil, we're on their ground. I think that is a little arrogant, right? Like they should know what we want. They should have Americanized restaurants and food and things, like what? Like, no. And, just immerse yourself in our culture. Because when they come to America, we want them to, right? We want them to be able to speak English. We want them to be able to bring about like our language and our cultures, and that we want to immerse them in that. This is the way we do things over here. This is the way we drive over here. This is the way we speak over here. This is the way these neighborhoods are. This is the way this is the way we dress. We want them to do all those things, and then when we go to their country, we want to do the same thing. Where are we doing that at? That's like I'm at my house. I have the rules of my house, right? So like one of my rules, like I have like little signs posted up, whatever, everywhere. And so, okay, one that's right in front of me, it says, be kind, be thoughtful, but most of all, be thankful. So you're over here, I want you to be kind, right? I want you to be thoughtful, and I want you to be thankful. Why are you here? When you out there, I would like for that to happen, but I'm not gonna, be like, yeah, you need to be doing such and such and try to force you to be that way. But if you cross this threshold, right, you are going to be kind while you're here in this environment, right? Or another thing the main floor restroom. You can't you can't do number two. You can't do number two. You only get to do number one. If you want to do number two, then you got to go downstairs. You got to go upstairs. You cannot do a number two on this main floor. No, no, ma'am, no, sir, not. We not having that. So that's over here. That's our rule over here. If I go to your house, right, and I try to enforce those same rules, you be looking at me like I'm crazy. You be like, hold up a second, this is my house. I have my own rules over here. How you gonna try to tell me that I don't need to be letting people doing number twos on the main floor? If they want to do a number two here, and I got all the stuff that needs to help alleviate, the smells and all that kind of good stuff, then I'm gonna do that. If I want to allow people in my house to cuss one another out and carry on, then that's my house. You can't try to come over here and tell me what to do. You can't come over here and try to rearrange my cabinets, right, to fix to your liking. No, this is my house. So why do we think that it's okay to do that when we go into other countries? We have to be able to expand ourselves and to really just kind of grow, and that's really how you're going to grow, is by going to different places, talking to people. I think I talked about this before, of just kind of really just getting out of your comfort zone, because where we grew up is comfort, because we know it, we live it, we're a part of it, and it's just comfortable. So you can say all day long, no, it's not comfortable. It's not. Well, it is, because you know it. You know what it's going to be like every day in some instance, right? So you know that you might hear sirens, or whatever, that you're going to see the man, whatever, walking his dog, or, you're going to see, this many cars go by. Like you kind of know it, right? That you're going to see kids on a bus stop, or your environment. You know that this store is not going to be open at this time. But when you come out of your comfort zone, you do not know. You don't know. You have to learn. How do you learn? Well, I go read, I go talk to people, and as I'm doing that, they give me their experience with it. They might give me a little insight, might put me on a little game or something, and so I'm just doing it. I'm just living life. So, I say all that to say, hey, have expectations. Have good expectations, right? It's okay to have high. I was the high expectation person, and you might have been the person that had low expectations. But find the balance. Find the balance of it, because you do need both. You can't live without the other. You can't grow without having the high expectations. You're unable to build relationships if you only just have low expectations, whether that be of our own selves individually, whether that be of other people, whether that be of our spouses, whether that be of our team members, whether it be of the organization that I'm a part of. There is a balance to have, and we need both. So you're asking yourself, well, where should I start at? Where should I go? What should I do? Well, look at the environment that you are in, right? Look at the environment that you are in. And then ask yourself, well, why do I normally have low expectations? Or why normally do I have high expectations? And did I used to have high expectations, and now I just settled it with low expectations? Right? Because I've done that before, right? I gave you my example, but it's based upon certain situations and circumstances where that is actually relevant. It's needed to do it. So, hey, it's time for us to get up out of here. I love chopping it up with you. I love, musing over things with you. And so until next time, we're going to talk about some burnout. We're going to talk about some, this new book that I got at the thrift store, which is really good. So I'm going to share the quote with you, not today or whatever, the reason why I bought the book. Like I literally bought it just because there was a saying in there and I was just like, oh snaps, I'm going to get this book, right? Because anyway, that's that. So I was like a whole thrift store, 2 floors. And I just sat in this chair with this book. And I was like, yeah, you're coming home with me because I've been sitting with you this long. And so this book I do. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. We can't talk about that right now because it's time to go. But hey, I love you. There's nothing that you can do about it. Hey, leading is teachable. You're not born with it, right? We are made into it. I love you. Until next time, peace.